The time is officially 6 g.m. This is the No Vaseline podcast at 6 g.m. Hey there, it's me, your host, Grace Marie. And today it's gonna be different, I guess. This one was shocking to me, and honestly, a lot of young girls are surrounded by, well, not only the young girls, but like even some adults I knew were inspired, so to speak. A woman was the talk of not the community, not the city, not the province, but the entire country, and maybe even beyond. I mean, the first time real things are happening in the country, in Lusaka, and this event took place less than 15 kilometers away from my school. So we got the news quick, and probably before other people did. I imagine that day that at lunchtime, one of our teachers went to the bank, maybe to just get some money for lunch, or just, what people use money for, and they couldn't withdraw anything because the bank was robbed. It felt so unreal, like this is probably just a rumor, a cautionary tale for bank tellers and people with bank accounts, except it wasn't. By lunchtime, everyone in the school, well, not really lunchtime, but like lunchtime and the time after it, probably even for the entire month, everyone in school was talking about the robbery at Longacres that took place in broad daylight. As with the last episodes, show notes are available at novavaselinepodstudio.com. If you have any information that needs to be corrected, please send me a message, because the information out there is pretty scarce. There's just news articles saying one and the same thing, and some of them are even like contradicting each other. So I tried as much as possible to pick what was sounding like correct. So without further ado, grab your coffee, your tea or water, and let's get right into it. Like I said, I was at school that day, and honestly, I was minding my own business, doing what an ordinary grade 10 pupil would do after lunchtime. But Pamela was all everyone could speak about. Even when I got home, she was the hot topic. Newspapers had her pictures. People on Facebook were talking about it non-stop for a whole month. This was awkward and had already been tried before by a security guard, stealing funds in transit. And even 3 years later, denizens were asking the same question. Pamela, why? Pamela wasn't poor. In fact, her uncle, who she lived with when she was growing up, Dr. Michael Gondwe, was the Bank of Zambia governor. He served as the governor from 2011 to 2015. Prior to that, he was the president of Eastern and Southern African Trade and Development Bank, also known as PTA Bank, for like 15 years. So you can say she was not poor, kind of, because like in Zambia, oh, and by the way, Dr. Michael Gondwe is a lawyer. So for him to be a lawyer and just enter the banking sector at those top positions, like the president and the governor, you can tell that this girl wasn't suffering. Like she wasn't in the trenches. She was something. She had a name to back onto her. And in Zambia, if you have a name attached to your name, you're kind of like on top. But she went to school, like there's no information about where she went to school from. There's no information about her educational background and probably her parents. All that information is kept anonymous. However, we do know that she was a cashier at Barclays. At that time, it was called Barclays, which is now like Absa. I'm sure like that time it was happening. People are using the two terms interchangeably, like the two names interchangeably. But I think for most of this, I'm just going to use them like interchangeably for the rest of the episode, because one and the same thing. It was Barclays. When I think even when this happened, it was still Barclays before it changed to Absa. So she was a cashier at Barclays. That in itself could tell you that she didn't suffer much. Like she really didn't suffer that badly, and she had at least something to get by. So around this time, she had a house which she got on loan from Absa. She got this house in like 2011. She was also supporting her sister and other dependents. And Pamela was also an author and poet. Her co-workers and other people who read her work say she was very talented. When you Google search her name, like just her name, you just write Pamela Gondwe. She is recognized as an author on Google. That is pretty big, especially for a Zambian author with only one book. Her book is called Tears in a Suitcase, which is ironic with whatever is going to happen next. This book came out in 2016. It's a collection of poems with a 2.5 star rating on Goodreads. Like, her book was rated on Goodreads, you people. With 2.5 stars, that's like half. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other people haven't read it yet, which is, it's really impressive. And it is also an independently published book. Yeah, I think you need to let all that sink in. Yeah, so like you can tell that she's a really accomplished author. And she ain't married. She isn't married. She doesn't have any children. But yeah, as I said, she seems to be like a breadwinner for some of her family members, like her sister and like other dependents. We don't know who those dependents were. She has a boyfriend from Uganda. It was really debated where he was from. Like a lot of people were debating. Even I had a bit of conflict, but I did settle on Uganda because a lot of people, even I think Lilian Mutambo reacted and said he was from Ghana. Some said he was from Nigeria. Other sources claimed he was from Ghana, but then ultimately majority of them said he was from Uganda. And her social media reveals that she loves traveling. There is a picture of her like in Spain, and there's another one with her in like Turkey at the time. I wasn't able to get to her social media like up to that point, but I did see some of these pictures, but I couldn't like get them. Anyway, she she has the best picture of herself implanted in our minds. Like she's this amazing author with this powerful uncle, a good job. She's probably she is well educated, and she has a boyfriend from Uganda, which this is a lot for like one young woman. She's like really killing it, you know? She's really killing it. Like she's an author, she's got all these things, like she's even able to support other family members while having a house on loan. Like you can tell this woman was working hard. So her co-workers, through a post on the Zambian Eye, have nothing bad to say about her. I have searched far and wide, and there is nothing anyone can say terrible about her. They describe her as intelligent, independent, and carefree. In my opinion, they kind of sound like she was actually doing something, like she actually did something to change her life. Like they were okay with it. You know, you'd usually think that your coworkers would be startled if such an event happened, but they were fine. Apparently, being a cashier at Absa, formerly known as Barclays, like I've already said, isn't a well-paying job. Most media outlets were speculating that she earned about 20,000 kwacha every month. That was, said by a family member. But her other workers with kind of the same or similar job said that they get paid less than 8,500 kwacha per month. And with deductions for stuff like loans, for example, the house loan she got, and other mandatory payments like taxes and insurance, it came to be only about 5,800 or even less. Now, I'm not pretty sure which one is true or whatever she earned, but I do have an opinion on this, and I do think she earned this little, because if she earned 20,000 every month, then why did all this happen? This information of like her earning less, which if it is true, and I do think is true, is concerning, because this bank has been in Zambia for more than 100 years. It's been in Zambia for more than a century. Yep. Barclays came to Zambia in 1918, but it was licensed in its current form, which basically means, like, I don't know what happened with like the licensing things, but basically it was licensed by the Bank of Zambia to operate in its like bank form, like the form it is in now, in the year 1974, which is kind of wild, because you'd expect them to pay their employees more. From my very credible Wikipedia search, I found that in 2019 they had about 800 workers, somewhere there, but I did go to their website, so that's 2019, right? They had about 800 workers. So as of 2020, they had 750 employees, 47 branches in Zambia, and a revenue of over 664,758,000 kwacha. This information is from December 2020, so you can imagine how much money this company makes, and this is in Zambia alone. So Barclays Bank PLC, as it was known in Zambia, is from like a parent company, so to speak, Barclays Africa Group. Now, what happened is the original group, like the owners, had like a huge share, like a huge share percentage, right? And they kind of reduced it and sold some of their shares. I don't really know who they sold their shares to. I didn't get to that deep, and some of that information was not disclosed. So yeah, basically they reduced whatever they had, like their original price, the ownership. They reduced their original ownership from whatever it was, which it was probably huge, to about 14.9%. So technically they still do own part of, ABSA, but it's now just like a smaller percentage. So because they had reduced their share percentage, they were like, you know what, guys, we have evolved, we have new people with that. And Barclays, by the way, is not an African company. Barclays, I believe, is either from like England. So it needed to rebrand. And that's why they keep talking about Africanicities, because the original owners were not Africans. And now when they reduced their share percentage, I imagine some Africans did buy some of the shares. So after they sold and reduced their amount, they're like, we need to be more inclusive. And they rebranded. They gave themselves the name ABSA. And wherever you go, where there is ABSA, you will hear this word, Africanacity. So I imagine that's what happened. So like for them to be more inclusive. And the name change for like the original parent company was in 2018. So the big company, like the parent company, the parent owners, changed from being Barclays to being ABSA in 2018. But the bank itself did not officially change, kind of, until 2020. And I think 2020 is also like the time Zingamelo also became part of, this bank. I think she came in when it became ABSA Africanacity. Yeah, so that's just a tidbit of information, just like a historical background, so that you can know that these people have a lot of money. And if what their employees are claiming to get paid is that little, then they need serious advocacy. Like, people need to be paid their dues. financial expert, but I kind of used my little knowledge, I had from principles of accounts, and from this information that I read like a lot of statements from 2020, like their cash flow, their equity and stuff like that. You could tell that they don't pay their employees enough. I mean, their revenues just in Zambia, guys, just in Zambia, they had a revenue of over 600 million kwacha. Like, that is a lot. And I think that because they don't pay their employees, this theft kind of just didn't shock the other people who she worked with. Yeah, no, it didn't shock them. There are many scandals in places like banks, and to avoid losing trust from customers, most banks just like hush things out. So yeah, why would they like hush things out? Imagine your bank's employees, like you are maybe banking with No Vaseline Bank PLC, and all the employees at No Vaseline Bank PLC were stealing. Like, you wouldn't want to keep your money there because your money might like just get lost. And sometimes these banks, when employees steal, fail to recover. Like, that's just also another thing that we'll see with this case. The banks sometimes fail to recover. The banks just fail because of the stealing. So they try to keep all these tiny scandals out of the public eye, and it's just all hushed out. But this time, with this particular case, the heist was way too much, and it was caught on CCTV with 2 people as witnesses. Like, that's just too much evidence for them to say, guys, it didn't happen. Like, you know, they can't just shush it out. Okay, back to like the story. Done with the history. So Pamela is a cashier at Longacres branch for ABSA or Barclays, and she's pretty trusted. As already said, her coworkers had nothing bad to say about her. She had been working at the bank for more than 10 years. She worked that long and was still working as a cashier. So as I was reading that article that was released by some of her alleged co-workers, I don't even know if they're her co-workers indeed, they said that it's pretty tough. Okay, like, it's not that bad to get up the corporate ladder, but she just wasn't that kind of person who was open to, you know, the shenanigans that take place with getting up the ladder. I feel like she needed it to be like more passive, because imagine you're working at a bank for 10 years and you're just a cashier. I bet that's why they even trusted her that much, because she had been there for like that long time. So from the article that was released from her co-workers, it was revealed that earlier that year, which is 2019, she wanted to resign. So there's this really weird thing where if you want to resign, your employer can say, nah, don't resign. Like, it's so weird. I knew that it existed. I just never knew that people would put it into practice. So I'm not really sure, but I think it's kind of part of your terms and conditions when you're working. Like, your employer can say, nah, you gotta keep working, instead of just letting you go. So she wanted to resign, and this article said that, and I'm quoting, this lady had worked in the same role for more than 10 years and was reasonably over familiar and frustrated at the lack of promotion and career development, end quote. So you can tell, like, this was just, I feel like it was just too much for her. Imagine you're working at the bank for 10 years and they just keep you as a cashier. That's just, it's just so demoralizing. I would also want to resign. Like, I would also just be frustrated. So part of her duties was to put the money in the vault, and she did this like with another lady. She was kind of like trusted with the vault thing, you know, she was kind of trusted with the vault, and she was also like in charge of putting the money in the vault. I don't think they allow any kind of employee to just get the money, like after they've counted at the bank, and just put it in the vault. I guess she was like just one of those who was trusted. And I imagine that these guys had lunch together. They probably did, because they kind of did the same job at around the same time. So you end up just having lunch with this person. And this coworker who she put the money in the vault with trusted Pamela so much that 2 weeks prior, or 2 weeks earlier, when Pamela bought a suitcase and asked if she could keep that bag, like the suitcase that she bought, in the vault, the coworker was okay with it. She didn't even get suspicious. And this is like really pertinent, just for later. So Pamela goes to the market. She buys this suitcase, right? Because there's a market nearby. It's Longacres market. And she gets this suitcase. She goes in and she's like, boy, I bought this car bag. Do you think I can keep it in the vault? And the coworker is like, you know what? I know Pamela, and Pamela is trusted. So I guess she can keep it. And then she's like, yeah, you can keep it in the vault. And that bag stayed in there, guys, for 2 weeks. Those two people, meaning Pamela and her coworker, were not the only ones who were entering the vault. So, like, a lot of people in the bank who work in the bank who enter the vault, do whatever they would do there, like maybe make some transactions, exchange currencies and stuff like that. They would see the bag, and I imagine someone was just asking, oh, there's a bag here. Who does this bag belong to? And they're like, it's for Pamela. And they're like, oh, okay. And, they mind their own business. I'm pretty sure, like, that's what went down. Because, guys, a bag in a vault, that's just so sus. It's just so sus. But people trusted her. Like, this could tell you how much people trusted her. Okay, so, like, most banks, and I think this one also at that time, closed at around like 14 hours. So banks don't close late. Like, all banks close like before like 18 hours. A bank is closed. Like, it's closed completely. You can't do any other transaction. And I think that it closed at around that time, that day, because like the way things are lining up, I didn't really see the timestamps, but like just the way things will happen, like the way things are unfolding, I imagine that the bank closed at around like 14 hours, and then, they closed. So banks close this early. For those of you who have no idea, they close this time because they count the money from the transactions from that day, and they get that money and they put it in the vault for safekeeping. So yeah, this is what happened. So Monday, June 10th, 2019, Pamela tells her coworker that English left the room. So Pamela tells her coworker that the head office, which is, I believe along Addis Ababa Road. Guys, I did so much research on this. I was just reading. Anyway, back to the story. Pamela tells her coworker that the head office gave a call. Ring, ring. Hey, Pamela, got these instructions for you. And then she's like, okay, what instructions do you have? I think, what instructions do you have? They're like, can you please serialize all my US dollars? So Pamela, after having this alleged information from the head office, I think it's not alleged, but I think it really did happen. I think this phone call did happen, and she just took the opportunity. So she tells her coworker that the head office has called the US dollars, all the US dollars in the vault, like at that branch, should be serialized, and the money from the transactions that like all the money that from the transactions that took place, like all those US dollars from all the transactions from that day, the ATMs, the currency changes, all kinds of bank transactions that should have been that should have happened. So all these US dollars, they should be counted, and then they should be serialized. So Pamela and her coworker are doing their thing, just serializing. So what exactly is this serializing. So serializing, as defined by Hazelcast, is making a data object, in this case money, into a series of bytes that saves the state of the object in a more transmissible form. So basically, like from my understanding, it's just kind of like counting and converting the money into figures so that the head office can have those figures. So they're just basically counting it and then like putting in the computer system, something like that. I don't know, if people work in the banking, correct me, but I think that that's what this is. So they're doing their thing, counting the bands of dollars in the vault, and it's like lunchtime. Yeah, it's lunchtime. And Pamela offers her coworker a sausage because it's lunchtime, like 14 hours, probably after 14, and they were counting money. They didn't have time to eat. So the food is cold, and her coworker goes to the canteen to warm up the food, and then eventually decides that she'll just eat from there, because where else could she eat from? At that time of the day, she was working in the vault, which is not an ideal place to have your lunch. So she leaves the vault with Pamela inside alone to secure the money and lock up. This just shows like how trusted she is, like just from the fact that she was called, her specifically, by the head office to get the serializing, that she was able to get a bag and just put it in the vault and no one questioned anything. Just like, this one was trusted to the max, like the way we trust in God. I think that's the way this bank trusted in Pamela. So there are many times probably that the co-worker could have left Pamela in the vault alone, because you don't just leave someone who isn't trustworthy with the keys to a bank vault, which has hundreds and thousands of kwacha, thousands of dollars and euros and hundreds of like pounds. If their revenue is over 600 million, imagine how much money was like in the vault at that time. Like, just like, that's a lot. So you can't just hand over the keys to anyone. And by the way, I think I haven't mentioned this, Longacres branch is one of the busiest from my observation, because if you can see where the Longacres branch is, right, and where the other ABSA branches are, quite alright, they're like near each other, but like Longacres is kind of centrally located because it's near the central business district. Like, it's, you know, like you just Longacres and you just go straight and it's down. And in town, I think they do have they do have some maybe ATMs like right now, but like back then it wasn't like they didn't have that many ATMs around town. So Longacres is pretty busy. I remember there was a time I was going to Kasama with my cousin, and this was like around 4 a.m. like 4 a.m. in Lusaka, and he wanted to get some money from the bank, right? But he found someone else getting money. Like, this is 04, guys. This is 04, and there are 3 people getting money from a bank. Like, you can tell that this branch specifically is pretty busy. And then also, like, just to make things even worse, is that there is a market in the area, and it's the nearest branch to like Roadspark. So what I'm trying to say is the Longacres branch is here. And then when you go with Longacres branch, like you go along Los Angeles Boulevard, you go to like the roundabout. The next branch that you have is the one at Yolanda Park. Yeah, and that one is pretty new. Like, so at that time, it wasn't there. So like this one was just like the one that was near town, and a lot of people were using it. Okay, back to the story. Remember that suitcase? Yeah, like the one that Pamela bought and then placed in the vault. At this point, it's just in the vault waiting. Like, this suitcase has been waiting to be used. I imagine like this is like, okay, it's my time to shine. So she is pretty fast, and I am pretty sure like she's super fast, because there was nothing strange about how long she took in the vault. So her co-worker suspects nothing. It's like she just finished serializing. Maybe she was like, her coworker is eating sausage, right? And then she's serializing and she's done. And then she goes back to the canteen where her coworker is, and her coworker suspects nothing, because if someone is packing money in a bag, right? And I feel like she was packing this money specifically, like you get what I mean when I tell you how much she actually stole. So you would think that she would take some time because she's packing the money in the bags. But I think she's like pretty fast, and then she just does everything as accurately as possible. So she's done packing, and her coworker doesn't suspect a thing. Like she's just minding her own business eating sausage. And Pamela comes to the kitchen to hand over the keys and says she's off to get her hair done. She's off to get a retouch. I don't know what hairstyle she had. I don't know. But this is what Pamela tells her coworker, and her coworker is like, oh, okay, cool, you're done? Yeah, I'm done. So Pamela gives the keys. Now, Pamela walks out of the branch and bypasses the security guard. I think there was just like one security guard. Like there was just this one security guard, the one for the bank. So she passes the one security guard with the suitcase or the bag that she had. And not all security guards in Zambia are like super, they're not as competent as the FBI. I mean, like, okay, obviously you see someone walking out of like a bank with a bag, like a suitcase. Who carries a suitcase to work? No one. But he doesn't stop her. Like, he doesn't stop her. Even though that does look suspicious, he doesn't stop her. And in his defense, I feel he didn't try to stop her because he probably recognized the bag, and then also he probably knew, like, this is Pamela. Hey, Pamela. Yeah. They know each other. They do their thing. So I think he just let her go because it's Pamela. She works here, and I think the bank was even about to close. So she is trusted, and no one suspects a thing. No one suspects anything. Like, there's nothing worrisome about the bag she's carrying, about even just the way she's walking out. Like, she's going to get her hair done, right? And she's just walking out with the bag. Maybe even her body language. I don't know. If I was her and I stole money, I think like my body language would be different because I'm carrying a lot of money in that bag. So I think I'd be wary. I think I'd be a bit stressed, but no one suspects a thing, which is weird. And I think just God was just working for her. Anyway, so she walks out of the bank through Longacres market. This is where she's walking. If you've never been there, guys, then I don't know, but like I don't know how to explain it. Like, she walks out of the bank, like where the bank is, through the market to get to her transport. And Longacres, as I've said, is like the busiest place. There's almost always traffic there, and like there's almost always even people traffic. So for her to be walking around and her body language is so like normal with a bag with that kind of money, it's so peculiar. Like, it's so peculiar. How did no one like try to spot her out and say there might be something wrong? Because the number of people who are in Longacres every day is just so shocking. Like, it's just way too many people. Anyway, she pulled it off. She walks out of the bank, walks through the market, gets to her car, and that was the last time Pamela Gondwe was ever seen. That was so dramatic, but it is true. When Pamela walked out of the bank, it was the last time people ever saw or heard from her. I'm pretty sure even her relatives, like, they've not heard from her, because the moment she speaks to any of them, she would be caught by Zicta. Okay, so remember when I said that this was opportunistic, quote unquote. Well, I'm convinced it is because the people who work at HQ were probably concerned when the information from the serializing did not come through. So it seems like they really did ask her to serialize and she didn't lie about the people at HQ asking if everything could be serialized. So yeah, so she took it as an opportunity. Like it was just like the right time. So they go to the bank, like these are the people from HQ. They are concerned. Remember, they didn't get the information from the serializing because remember, Pamela is the one who like finished up and she locked up. So she was supposed to send the information, but she didn't send it. So they go to the bank and they're like, we got to count through all this like again. And when they're done, they discover that some money is missing. Now, I don't know the obsession that Zambians have with dollars, but most people, when asked, only said she went away with $400,000. On the contrary, it was actually more. She left the bank with close to 7 million kwacha, which is obviously more than 400,000 could equate. Like, really, if we're really speaking. Like, Zambians, whenever they just hear the dollar, it's like, the dollar is way more powerful than any other currency. But, you know, when you go back to that time, it's like the top 3 of like the currencies that everyone was looking at when talking about the economy. It would be the dollar coming in third, then second would be the euro, and third would be like the pound. Okay, so I need you to keep that in mind because yeah, of like the full breaking down. So broken down, like whatever she stole broken down was $400,000, over 22,000 euros. I didn't manage to get the exact figure, and 250,000 Zambian kwacha. And yes, I did mention that you needed to keep in mind where the euro was at that time because it's just 22,000 euros and the rest are like in the 100,000s. So 22,000 euros was more powerful than 400,000. It was almost more powerful than like the $400,000. So she only needed a few euros. Like, all that was 7 million kwacha. To this day, I still get shocked whenever I look at it. Like, it really just, shocks me. So, back to like the story, whatever is happening at Longacres branch. The people who did the serializing and realized that some money is missing tried to communicate with Madame Gondwe and she isn't answering her phone. But guess where her phone is? I'm just giving you like a second to guess where her phone is. You're right. Genius. You star. The phone is in the bank. She left her phone at her workplace. So at this point, Pamela, like just a run through of what has happened, like over the last, I don't know if this has been like 30 minutes or so. Pamela, the trusted employee, is missing. 1, the bag that she brought into the bank has disappeared. 2, as well as her phone is in the bank. 3. Those are 3 very crucial facts. And if you were a person who was at that place at that time and you just deduced these 3 facts, it would be obvious to you. So they put all the pieces together and I'm sure they just sat and they're like, damn, this woman legit stole 7 million kwacha. Like, just all these 3 things. Like, it's just so obvious. Like, she's not here. Her phone is here. The bag that she brought into the bank is not here. The money is missing. So she stole like 7 million kwacha. She's just gone just like that. Like, it really does shock me even up to now because people, this is 2023. Where the hell is Pamela? Where is Pamela? Like, where is she? 7 million kwacha gone just like that. Anyways, so the bank reported the theft to the police on Monday afternoon. And, they tried as much as possible to, hash this out, People should be quiet. It should just be whispers that people say, oh no, that's a rumor, but it kind of failed. Anyway, the aftermath, the actual aftermath of the heist was 2 managers losing their jobs, and I didn't get which 2 managers these were. I couldn't get their names. Everyone kept them anonymous, and it was just a thing that went around. Everyone just knows that these 2 managers lost their jobs, and after they lost their jobs, there were thousands of investigations that took place. Everyone was interviewed. Anyone who knew, even her name, Pamela, it's anyone who knew, this woman's name was Pamela Gondwe before she became famous for stealing as Pamela Gondwe. Everyone was interviewed. Friends, family, co-workers, just even, I'm pretty sure acquaintances were interviewed. So many investigations. And when asked, very important information, when asked, employees at the then Barclays made no real comments on the issue. So you would work, you'd be someone who lives, maybe even your wife is a worker there. She would not tell you anything real. Whatever she would tell you is surface level, literal surface level. And even the police spokesperson at that time, Esther Katongo, refused to say anything at all. She legit refused to say anything. And I think it was at the request of the bank, because if I'm being honest, the police have to be transparent in such issues. And frankly, now that I understand how law enforcement works, I am so disappointed, especially after learning this. I'm super disappointed because she could have been a little more transparent. Hiding the skeletons of a bank doesn't promote development. And it's the police. They're supposed to be on the side of the citizens. They're supposed to be on our side. So if they're not on our side and they do things for the bank, then that sprouts another issue. And at that time, netizens already had issues with the police, and it just reinforced the distrust that they had. People in Zambia have been distrusting the police from each year goes by, and we're it's the police, what do they do? It's the police, what do they do? So at this point, I'm pretty sure people who had bank accounts at Barclays, they're damn, these police people, do I even trust the police anymore? It was just so sad. It was really just sad. But it does seem, however, that ZP decided to hand the majority of the work to the Drug Enforcement Commission, which, okay, I understand that this could be an issue for DEC, but I feel the police could have been more involved. There's no way you can be the spokesperson for police and you legit refuse to say nothing. She, in the interview, and what she said, ask other law enforcement agencies. I'll end it there. So DEC interviewed some of the co-workers, friends, and family, under the risk management department, and these close people, the friends, the co-workers, the family, working with so these friends and family worked with the risk management department under DEC, the risk management department under DEC, and they did as much as they could in the best way they could to help the commission with these investigations. They really, really, really did try their best. I commend them. I really do commend them. It was it's such a really trying time. Imagine your sister just goes missing and she's stolen 7 million kwacha, and now they're telling you that they might put her on Interpol watch. That's literal life imprisonment at that point. She's on the run. She's literally at large. That's your daughter, your niece, your co-worker, your friend. It's so much. And these people who work in law enforcement are already intimidating. I'm so intimidated by people in the army. Oh my goodness. I cannot think straight when there is anyone in the army, like anyone wearing anything in relation to like the ZNS, ZAF. Okay, maybe ZAF. Like, I'm a bit comfortable with ZAF because I know people in ZAF. But anyone else, like, if this person is in DEC, if this person is in ZP, if this person is like in ZNS, if this person is in the Zambia army, I'm legit afraid of you already. I'm scared. I can't say any, I whimper at that point in time. I don't know whether I should also salute, but like, I shouldn't salute because I'm just a civilian. So like, they're already intimidating. These people are already intimidating, right? And the people that they are saying they're going to be working with, people in Interpol, just already from the movies that we watch, spies and what, they're also intimidating, even more intimidating than people from your DEC offices. So like, it was a lot of work. I really commend them for what they did. It was like so emotionally traumatic working with people like this. I don't think I ever want to find myself in such a situation ever in my life. But, you know, after all this happened, this was June 2019. So it gets hashed out a bit because they're working, right? They're doing investigations. It gets hashed out a bit. But my dear, in Zambia, things don't rest. This could have happened in 2005, and it could be 2025. It started in 2005. It happened in 2005. It ended in 2005, but my Zambian people will not rest. They will not rest at all. Even in 2025, this issue will come up. Was still the it thing, even in September 2019. People started spreading rumors again that Pamela was stuck in Spain because her boyfriend stole the loot from her. These claims were stated to be false by the police, and it was also like at that time that ZP made a statement that they had to put her on Interpol watch list. And I know, I really, really know that they had to say it out loud because, again, rumors were going around, and these rumors were going around, I think, slightly before her boyfriend stealing. So like, this was the rumor that was going around, that Zambia didn't pay some fees for our case to be on Interpol. So I don't know how this works. I'm really not sure how it works, but I'm pretty sure that you have to pay something for your country to be like continuing to be like on Interpol. I don't think it's a free thing because, you know, it's resources from different countries. So yeah, like people were saying that we didn't pay for this to be on Interpol, so the police can't take it to Interpol, so you just forget about Pamela. You know, that thing, that's what was going on. But I don't know whether that was a true rumor or not. Like, I don't know whether this rumor was facts or no facts. I have no idea how they pay for Interpol. Like, if we had a more transparent thing, yes, I'm calling you out, you need to tell us what goes on. It would be better, like we would have known. I feel like, yeah, another reason why too many rumors do spread in these countries because people are not honest with how things like take place. Like the procedures are not taught. We're just taught basic things. Like maybe you just go there and then the police will help you. Like, how will they help me? How is the police supposed to help me? So how is the police supposed to work in a case where someone steals this much money from the bank? You know, so such things are not everywhere and they're not in our faces, and it's information that we all don't know, like, which is kind of wrong. You know, it's like kind of wrong. But anyway, that was a lie. Pamela was not in fact in Spain. Actually, at this point in time, no one even knew where she was. Like, we did not know where she was. We are just as blank as the way we're blank now is the way we were blank even then. Like, we legit did not know. We had no idea, no clue. Okay, so I need you to get back in the time machine, and we moved to like 2 years later, right? So just fast forward a bit, you know. That was September 2019. We moved to like 2 years later, almost 2 years rather, to March 2021. So remember that house loan I mentioned like way earlier in this episode? Yeah, the one that Pamela got like at this point almost a decade ago. Well, Pamela was back in the news, and this time after what went down, I don't think she will for sure not ever appear in Zambia. Like she would never come back here. So now it's now ABSA. So ABSA, it was Barclays, there was the thing for it to change. Now it's ABSA. So ABSA in 2021 went to the court this time because Pamela defaulted on loan payments. Note, she has at this point been at large for almost 2 years. So she can't pay for like the house loan. She's been gone for like that long. So as of March 21st, 2021, she was owing the bank about 183,073 kwacha, 69 ngwe as the principal sum. Like this is how much she has to pay for principal on the house loan, and 88,064 kwacha and 95 ngwe as interest from like the date of default. So altogether, like, if you know your mathematics, she was owing the bank like 271,102 kwacha, 64 ngwe. Remember how much kwacha she stole? That's literally the amount of kwacha she stole plus probably 3,000 euros. Like, that's just a huge setback already from what she stole. Unless she made some investments and it grew. But yeah, that's how much she was owing the bank. Almost like 300,000 kwacha in repayments for the house. So the bank attempted to serve Miss Gondwe the lawsuit, but they didn't find her at her residential address in Kafio Estate. So she was not home, which, I mean, who did they expect to find when she has been at large since June 2019? I don't know. I don't know. So then they sought leave of court to save her by way of advertisement, but Miss Gondwe did not respond or file defense. So let me just explain to you how this happened. So you go to court, right? You get a summon, right? That's the summon. You get the summon. I think this is like a civil case. It's not a criminal case. So you go to the court. You're like, oh, guys, here at court, I have a civil case for you. In this case, we, ABSA, have got a case against Mrs. Gondwe. Like they're like, okay, yeah, so fill in these things and then serve her this, this, like, you have to serve her like this summon. So the court is going to summon her. So you serve a summon. So they went to give her at her house. She wasn't there. So they're like, okay, all right. So the court is like, the court sets a date, right? The court sets a date and then like, boom, the date has come. Maybe the date was like a week later, and then a week later comes and the ABSA people are like, okay, she's not here. So can we try to summon her by like through an advertisement? And then the court is like, okay, granted you leave, go get your summon, like go summon her, make sure she files defense, and then you come back. All right, so they did that. They put it, they tried to summon her through an advertisement in like newspapers. I'm not really, yeah, I saw that in a newspaper and like through the internet and stuff. They tried to summon her through advertisement, which is another way you can, serve someone, but she didn't respond. So when you have been given the summon, you've been served, right? You have to respond and you have to say, okay, yeah, I'll be coming. And then when you do that, you have to file defense. So meaning you have to put yourself in the position of being a defendant, right? So she didn't do any of these things. She did not respond to the summon. She was not like, oh, I've been summoned. She didn't even say, oh, I need to defend myself, right? She didn't do anything. So I hope by now, like, you believe me, like, at this point, that when I say this woman made like water vapor and disappeared, this woman disappeared. Like the way you boil water and then it just becomes steam and then just disappears. You can't see the steam, can't see which direction the steam goes. That's what she did. And just these years passing by is like the water vapor becoming more and more like the atmosphere around us. Like, that's how it is. So at that point, it was steam. The time that she saw, it was like steam. You could have like tried to catch her. But now, it's done. It's legit done. She's in the atmosphere. You can't see her. Disappeared. She just looks like the air. That's how bad it is. Like, she's gone for good. Like, she is gone for good. So, yeah, back to the story. The bank applies for a judgment in their favor, because remember, she hasn't filed for defense, and she hasn't responded to the summons yet. At all. Not even yet. At all. She's not responding. So they apply for a judgment in their favor, which this judgment was granted by Judge Longacres. Thank God I found his name. And I didn't even see his picture. I wish I found the picture, but I couldn't find any. So this Judge Mwale, in the judgment, said that Pamela has to pay the bank back what she is owing, and that it will be paid back with interest at contractual rates. So the rate of the contract from the date of originating summons. So from the date of the summon to the date of the judgment, she's paying interest on those days. And then she'll also like pay interest at the current bank leading rate as determined by the Bank of Zambia until like the date of payment. So until the date of judgment. So she'll pay for interest on those days. She'll pay for interest on like from the judgment until she's done with the payment. So that's how she's supposed to pay interest. And I didn't do the mathematics because I didn't find the interest rates, and it was just like so much for me. But like if you use common sense, I'm pretty sure that making like this the total she might have to pay, like what she might have to pay is almost 1 million, because those interest rates, like she's paying like so much interest, it's just like a lot. And I'm pretty sure it would like just come to like not even 500,000. It would probably be more, because to this day, for her to pay to date, this is 2023, she's literally paying back more than 1 million. Like just one or two out of whatever she stole. 2 out of 7 of what she stole is going to those loan repayments. And if I were her, and I'm pretty sure she saw this news, I would never come back. Like, I would never come back. I'll just stay put where I am. Maybe my life is even better. I would never come back. And if I did come back, you would never know that it was me. I'll just have a different face, different identity. You would have no idea, because how much she has to pay, like as of 2021 already it reached almost 300,000. And that was just March 2021. This is now like July 2023, which is a full like 4 years. Oh my goodness, it's been that long. Like a full 4 years and almost a whole month. Like more than a month actually. It's been a full 4 years and a month since she left, and like 3 or 2 years actually since that judgment was made. So I'm pretty sure it has already gone to like 1 million. Pamela Gondwe proved something that most people would never in their wildest dreams think of about Zambians. That we are capable. I mean, the girl just got fed up, and she did like that SpongeBob meme and said, "I'ma head out." And she never came back. She never looked back, and she headed out for real. She ain't coming back. Like, she gone. But she made something even more evident, that Zambia is now more complicated than it was even 10 years ago. We are developing at a fast rate, and denizens are becoming as complex as the rest of the world. So something needs to change in terms of security. I mean, public services should do as much as they can to catch up to like the new population. And I've seen them trying, especially in the field of IT. Like, they're trying as much as possible, but the police somehow are backward. Like, I don't know how. Like, I have no idea, but they are somehow backward. Anyway, we hope for the best. We really do hope for the best. And, I don't know what the future holds for this case, where Pamela is, what her plan is, or how she is doing. Like most people. I would love to know. I would really, really like to know. She certainly made me believe in myself and my capabilities, like, in kind of like a dark way, like just a dark way, a dark form of inspiration. Like, it's the wrong thing to get inspiration from, but I still got inspiration from it. Like, it's a morally questionable source of inspiration, but it is inspiration nonetheless. I would like to know what chapped thoughts you have about this case / scandal / shocking event. And until next time, guys, stay paired. We have come to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening. I really enjoy interacting with you also. To connect with me, you could leave me a message here through Spotify for podcasters, or on Instagram. You could leave a comment on the website, and if you feel like it, send me an email. All the links are below. Bye!